Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. Rise and shine. This is the day the Lord has made. I wanted to talk to you this morning. I want to talk to you about a subject that I believe is very important. I believe on our journey to living life to the fullest, we must examine ourselves and identify what's been holding me back, what's keeping me from becoming my best self. That's one of the things you have to ask yourself on a frequent basis. As a matter of fact, at your very core, what behavior can be holding me from living life effectively? The truth is there is more on the other side of intentionality. If I would just simply focus and identify the behaviors that needs to be incorporated for me to have a healthier life, a better life. The goal is better. Okay? The goal is better. So I want to say Merry Christmas to all of you guys. On yesterday, you've enjoyed the day with family, and now you're on to a new day. And listen, the countdown is on. The countdown is on. We're now gearing up for a new year. We're gearing up for a new year. How many of you are ready for a new year? How many of you are ready for a new year? A new year is going to present a lot of things to a lot of people. But here's what I want to remind you. I want to remind you in your pursuit to capitalizing on all that the new year is going to bring, I want you to know that you can win. I want you to know that you should set yourself up to ensure that whatever you put your hands to prospers. Okay? Now, this morning, I want to share with you this whole idea of competitive jealousy. You heard me correctly. Competitive jealousy. Competitive jealousy is actually real. There are a lot of people who don't realize at their very core what they're doing is not actually doing it for themselves, but it's this competitive position one has put themselves on to try to gain about a level of success or a level of attention for the wrong reason. Competitive jealousy. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? At your very core, what motivates you? At your very core, are you simply competitive, or are you at the place where your competitiveness has moved towards being driven by jealousy? So for this week, I want you to go into the new year. So I'm going to help you this week with looking and examining your reasoning, your position, how and what you're doing to come about with the stance that you're functioning on. Are you living within at your very best self, knowing that you are motivated by God, noted that you are motivated by a pure intent? What you do on a daily basis need to be motivated by a pure intent. You have to be careful. You have to be careful because competitiveness gets us to produce more, but competitive jealousy would have us to not be satisfied and appreciate what it is that we've acquired. So very few people, Megs, very few people, Karen, they very few talk about competitive jealousy. And competitive jealousy is everywhere. Competitive jealousy is everywhere. And so on days like this, there are a lot of people who aren't feeling well. They're not feeling well because at their very core, they're not well with themselves because they've been motivated to do what they do with ill intent, with the wrong intent. It's not the best mode of operation to do what you do with the wrong intent, only to think you're going to be happy and you're going to be whole and you're going to do well from what you've done. You have to make sure, if you're going to create a life you don't need a vacation from, if you're going to take control of who you're becoming, you have to make sure that the decisions you make on a daily basis is coming from the purest and most richest place. From the purest and most richest place. Competitive jealousy, write it down. Lord, help me to not be suffering from competitive jealousy. Go ahead, write that down. Lord, help me to not be suffering from competitive jealousy. My drive and my determination on a daily basis is not motivated from the most healthiest place. And with that said, what I find myself dealing with is a high level of stress. I find myself dealing with a high level of anxiety. I find myself living outside, examining everybody else's way of life. Examining everybody else's way of life. And that's affecting me at my core. It's affecting me at my core. So on this day, I want to do this teaching this week because I want you to prepare to go into the new year. I want you to go into the new year free. Whom the Son set free is free indeed. And the truth is, you have to build your life upon principles that moves you towards being free. You can hold all kinds of titles. You could have acquired all kinds of things. You could actually be celebrated and appreciated by a lot of people. But if your actions from day one is all about competitive jealousy, which at the end of the day, it's not even you doing it for you. You're doing it because you want to outdo your sister. You're doing it because you want to outdo those in the office. You're doing it because you're trying to outdo the neighbor. You're doing it because it's all about how everybody else views you. And what you haven't realized is you haven't taken the time to view yourself. You haven't taken the time to learn how to appreciate who you've been, how you've been, where you've been, where you're going, and how you're liking that whole element of coming about. Competitive jealousy. Listen, there's an old adage that says, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And in a world we're living in where when you're on social media, you see everybody look like they're doing it. Come on, you get to the office and most people talk their high points. Okay, most people display their high points. Most people display the point that make them look competitively impressive. Make them look above the rest. Okay, now you gotta know what's best for you. What's best for you? As a matter of fact, you really do have to know how much is enough. You have to learn how to identify how much is enough, and is the enough that you've labeled enough your enough, or is it motivated by a competitive edge to outdo someone else? To outdo someone else. I'm here today to tell you, you should be all that you are capable of being. But making sure that as you're trying to be all that you're capable of being, at your very core, you're knowing that this who you're becoming, you're okay with. Have you ever met anybody? Have you ever read of anybody? Have you listened to how there are people who you would say they have acquired so much? You would say they should not have any regret. They should be in a good place. These people should be doing well. But the truth is, at the very core, they're more stressed out than anybody else. At their very core, their level of anxiety is off the charts. I believe competitive jealousy is a subject we need to look at. What's motivating you to do what you do? This week, we're going to dive into this, okay? I want you to come back and join me here on my social media platform. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and put on that notification bell, because you just really want to constantly be tweaking your life and trying to figure out, how can I become better at being me at the end of the day, knowing who I'm working on is who I'm really wanting to be, and not pushing myself towards something that's going to cause me to look like I'm successful, look like I got it going on. But at my very core, I'm not doing the healthy work. I'm not doing the right work. I believe the level of anxiety, I believe the level of stress that we see people are dealing with today often is attributed to a high level of competitive jealousy, outside influence pushing and driving us to do more when we haven't identified, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it really the best thing for me to do? I'm Coach Ricardo Miller, and I'm here today to tell you, you've got to do what you got to do to make sure that the person you're becoming is the person you're wanting to be. If you have not purchased this book yet, I'm going to start an initiative at the beginning of the year. I want to start a campaign where we're going to read this book together, and we're going to tweak our lives in a way where we become more in control of who we're becoming, and start to appreciate really where we're going. Stress and anxiety is not the will of God for your life. Okay? Your goal is to find that every new day moves you towards a better life. Every new month moves you towards a better life. Every new year moves you towards a better life. You're following the right platform. I'm the guy for you for the new year. Stick around and let's do this together. I promise you, you won't regret it. Your best days are in front of you, but you got to address the elephant in the room. You got to go where you haven't gone before. And maybe you have not looked into competitive jealousy. You have not looked into how you've been depressed and how you've not embraced who you are, because most of what you have done is preset under this message that have been influenced to you by your teachers, by your parents, by religion, by friends, by culture. That's causing you to think you got to get up and hustle and you got to go the way everybody else is going. Learning to find where perfect peace presides is one of the places you want to be in 2024. Learning to love who you are, learning to love where you are, and learning to be committed to go where you should be in proportion of your giftings and your abilities to serving humanity. You don't want to be about everything. I love what Apostle Paul says. He says, all things are permissible to me, but not all things are beneficial. And so you got to learn how to identify what's not beneficial, because I'm not just going to be hustling just for hustling's sake. I'm just not going to be upgrading for upgrading's sake. I'm not going to be trying to outdo anybody just because I can outdo others. There are times you just need to sit back, relax, and appreciate who you are, where you've come from, and identify, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing? So that when you go for it, your intent, your drive is at the purest level. And that's where you can end up having that peace, that you can have that joy, you can have that inward happiness that most people in the world don't have. I'm Coach Ricardo Miller, and I'm here to help. Let's go ahead and read the book together. We're going to start this reading initiative on day 1. So make sure you get your copy. Go to my website, order your copy of Effective Living Today. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. If you already have the book, pull the book back out and say, listen, I'm going to work this thing until I make it work for my life. God bless you guys. Have a great day. If you know somebody's dealing with competitive jealousy and they need to learn how to live from within and start to manage themselves based on where they should be going, tag them in this video and tell them, hey, check this out. Come on this journey this week and study this subject to ensure that What you're about in this next season of your life is really where you should be, and not so focused on what everybody else is doing. Okay? Broad is the way that leads to death. Narrow is the way that leads to life. I am in pursuit of life, and life more abundant. How many of you can say that with confidence this morning? I'm in pursuit of life. Hello? Write that down for me. I'm in pursuit of life. Say that with confidence. I'm in pursuit of life. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.